Hi, welcome to Careers Channel. My name is Tuba, and I'm the Communications Manager for East and Southern Africa at WWF. In this episode, we'll be talking about how to succeed in your new job. Please make sure to check out part 1 of how to get said job. So, day 1 at your new job. You're excited. You've told everyone. You're probably wearing your best clothes. How do you end up being a successful person? So I think the interview never really stops, at least not for the probation period. Most jobs will give you a probation of 3 months, 3 to 6 months. What you need to do is be sure of yourself. Be sure that that job was not charity. You earned it. Your skills are valued and they are valuable. Remind yourself that all the time. I deserve to be here. I know how to do this job. I'm confident in my job. And this mantra, you can use it from your first job to your 5th job where you've got 10, 15 years of experience. You should always aim to believe in yourself. You should also try to work with people. It's a cliche, but no man is an island. So make sure that you're investing in your relationships. Some things in these organizations only work because of personal relationships. If you can go over to the receptionist and say, "Hi, do you know where I can get this and get that?" That is going to help you way more than a polished CV can do. So make sure that you invest in your relationships without being too much of a brown noser, if you allow me to use that term. Make sure that the relationships that you're cultivating are organic. And let's assume you're working in a team, which is most likely. Many organizations tend to work in teams. Be a team player. Cliche as that sounds, make sure that you're able to collaborate, you're able to share knowledge, and you're also able to add value and also see who can add value to your work. So you need to be a team player. You need to play to your strengths as well. You might be really good at writing or, at extracting information. Make sure you hype up those strengths and also try and be observant and see who else has other strengths that you may be lacking that will make the team work together overall. And you might face resistance in your new job. Not every job is utopia. You might be the young international person, or you might just be young, because sometimes that might work against you in the organization. And if you do face resistance, first of all, don't be petty. Do not, pay an eye for an eye. Make sure you stay professional and above board at all times. Also ensure that you have a paper trail. If you've asked somebody for help repeatedly and they're just not helping you, make sure that it's on email, in Teams. If your organization is one that uses WhatsApp, make sure that you have this in writing, so that if you need to, though that should be the last thing, if you need to escalate it, you can say, "I've repeatedly asked for help. I've repeatedly asked for this thing to be done, but it's not being done." So make sure you stay professional and you always have everything in written, have a paper trail of the things that you're requesting. Also, use your social skills. Be personable. Remember, you managed to convince a panel of interviewers that you deserve this job. Those were people, just like the people that you're working with. So use your social skills, use your interpersonal skills, and try and get to the bottom of why you think this person or this team might be resisting you. At your new job, you will be being assessed, especially in the first 3 months. It's a probation or a trial period, whatever they call it. Make sure that you stay curious and you stay reading. You might notice these are themes that I keep on talking about. Even in part 1, I spoke about how you need to be curious and read and research. Do the same thing even in your job. Make sure you understand where the training manuals are. Are there other resources that you can take advantage of that you need to read and learn and understand the organization? Also, be proactive. Whatever you can read, whatever information you can get your hands on that will help you understand the organization, the team, the role, because roles often do change from the job description or whatever you were hired for. And when you're in the job, you might realize, oh, things are done a bit differently here. But you need to stay on top of that by reading and doing your research. And also ask questions. Do not assume anything. Everything should be asked and clarified. However, there's a caveat to that. Don't ask questions before you've done your research, or at least you've tried, Be be solutions oriented. Even in your questions, you could say to your boss, oh, I was wondering how to do ABC. I've tried looking here and there, but I couldn't find it. Are you able to help me? Be solutions oriented and proactive. In being personable and, using your personality to just make sure you fit into the team, there might be some unwanted consequences, like unwanted romantic interest or otherwise. How do you handle that? I would honestly say do not engage in that. You're at that job to do your job. And while there may be some people that have found success in workplace romance, it rarely works out, especially if there's a clear power imbalance. And I think in such a situation, you need to stay professional, and you also need to keep everything above board and in writing. And if you can avoid, being in situations where this person would have access to you as a young man or a young woman that's just joined this organization, try and do that. Try and make sure they have as little personal access to you as possible, whilst you still stay professional and ensuring that it doesn't really affect how you do your job. If it's too much, HR is there. Human resources, or people and culture, as they call it nowadays, is there to help. You can and should confide in somebody, and I think that HR will do their best to get it sorted out. We now live in the world of AI and digital literacy. How then do you stay relevant and up to speed with whatever is happening in your industry? I'll speak about communications because that's what I do. I often joke actually and say, if I had stopped school in grade 6 and I could still read, write, and speak as I do, I would probably be able to do my job. So then if anyone, quote unquote, anyone can do my job, what gives me the edge? And it's staying curious, staying always reading, always researching. If you're in engineering, you should be sure to keep up with the latest engineering techniques and models. Even if you're in law, something that does not change for centuries, you still need to be able to read up on newer cases. What happened in the high courts or the Supreme Courts in the past couple of years. You need to stay reading. You need to stay curious and also pick up some skills. Like I said, we're in the world of AI now. It's inevitable. We're going to have to use language learning models, LLMs, or artificial intelligence, if you will. Make sure you pick up some skills. You don't have to be a power user. You don't have to, go back to school and get a degree in that. But just try and be as knowledgeable as you can in your field and in the field of whatever is trending in that year or in that time period, which right now I would say is AI. So polish up those skills, get some digital literacy, spend time on YouTube, read books, speak to your peers as well. Just make sure you stay curious and always learning. Sometimes you might do so well in your job and think, hey, there might be room for growth here. And that's excellent. You should actually always be trying to aim higher and higher. I think you need to understand and remember what I always taught myself is that networking never ends. Even in the organization, you need to be able to speak to the managing director in a respectful and professional way, of course, but you need to be able to show that edge. You need to be able to say hello to him or her when they walk down the passage or the corridor. You need to be able to stop by someone's office and say, oh, hi, how was your weekend? Make sure you keep networking, being personable. We keep going back to that. You have to be a people person and you have to at least know how to work with people. This advice might be skewed to extroverts. You don't have to be an extrovert. Believe it or not, I actually am more on the introvert I have more introverted tendencies. So the way I recharge is very in solitude. But I know that in the organization, that does not serve anyone. And so you need to be able to speak to people. You need to be able to speak well to your seniors and also the people that may be at your level or even below you. So make sure you keep networking. And if there's an opening that you'd like to do in the organization, reach out to the person the person that would be responsible for you. You can say, hey, I'm interested in this role. Can I apply? Do you think it's a good fit? At this point, we're working on the fact that you've probably worked with these people for a while. So you have some relationship that you've worked on because you've been personable and you've been, easy to work with and you've been asking questions. You've been solutions oriented. So make sure that you keep networking even when you have that job. The MD is not So I promise you, they're just people. They're not some scary monster. You can say hello to them. They likely will not say, why is this intern talking to me? Why is this new employee talking to me? They will be happy to learn about what you're doing. You can keep them up to speed on some of your projects, because we often underestimate how little people in organizations speak to themselves. They might not know the cool project that you're working on, or the deal that you've closed, or the clients that you have in your pipeline. Make sure you keep the relevant people updated and keep networking. So I spoke about keeping your boss or other peers updated about your work. And Africans, I'm speaking to us. We've been raised with this humility. Don't look your elders in the eyes. Don't say hello first. Don't say how are you. That is something that we have to put aside in the workplace. That's not how it works in the workplace. In the workplace, you need to be, for lack of a better term, blowing your own trumpet. Did you sign a new client? Make sure everybody knows. You have to toot your own horn, and the work will speak for you, especially if it's quality. But if you're not communicating about it, nobody will know, and nobody will know to associate you with the value that you're bringing. So make sure that you don't have to be completely pompous about it. But I think the humility with which we've been raised as Africans does not have a place in the corporate setting as it is today. So make sure that you're able to keep people updated in a professional way. You can use the multiple channels that organizations have these days: WhatsApp groups, Teams channels, coffees and connects, those kinds of roundtable meetings. Make sure that you're always ready and available to show or demonstrate your value. And it might help in in the previous point I said of, if you want to move up a rung in the organization, or even get a reference. If people know or have a vague idea of what you've been working towards, it's much easier for them to give you a reference. You might be interested in an internal job application. The department next door, another department different from yours might be hiring, and you don't know how to go about it. The best case scenario is that your manager is super lovely and would be very understanding. Worst case is they would be questioning why you want to leave their department. I think nothing should be done in secrecy. If I were in that position, I would first speak to my manager, not really to seek permission, but just to express my interest and let them know, I'm looking for growth. They might even have a promotion or something for me, and I might not need to leave. But I think it's important to manage up and make sure that you keep your manager abreast with what you're doing. Not only is it professional, but it also just keeps things above board, and nobody can come back and say, oh, you were doing that in secret, so I cannot give you my blessing, if you will. So I think it's important to keep your manager, up to date, no matter how difficult. I know not everyone's manager is, very welcoming of these things, but the fallout of a manager finding out you're secretly applying within the same organization would be much worse than having a 10 to 15 minute uncomfortable discussion with them about your ambitions. So you may have been working this organization for a while and, feel that you've gained skills, you've maybe upgraded your qualification also, and you've got massive experience now. And you think, I think my financial compensation should match what I'm bringing to the table. How would one go about it? I think, like in the previous point, I think the first person to speak to is your manager. Number one, you interact with them on a daily. They know the tasks that you have. They know the tasks that you're handling. They also know your capabilities a little bit more than you think. Sometimes we're blind to our own strengths and weaknesses, but the manager has a more bird's eye view on what you can and cannot do. So I would say you begin with them. You go having maybe a PowerPoint presentation of all the strengths, all the value that you've added. Remember that keeping everyone up to date. So you come with your folder now. Oh, I landed X client. I did this. I led on this project, or I contributed to that. So make sure you have a list of your wins, and then they'll use that to demonstrate. I think given what I've done and given how I've upgraded my qualification, I would like to ask for X amount or X percent, and then see where your manager takes that. They might be open to it. There might be no budget at the time, or they might say, well noted, let's speak in the next quarter or the next budget run. But at least you've started that conversation. I would not advise to go, above your line manager or go straight to HR or finance, because it still always has to come back to the person that's supervising you. But I think you should be able to demonstrate your value first and foremost. Friends, I've had so much fun sharing my story with you and my journey. I hope you found it as valuable as I did, and I hope you had fun watching it as well. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this. Until next time, bye-bye.